Hi everybody. First time we've ever done this, so we're just checking to make sure that it's working okay.
We're just waiting for 6 o'clock.
Yeah. So are we all prepped, Joe? All ready and raring?
Let's make sure everything works, Julian. That's weird.
How's that looking?
That's weird that we can see on there.
Brilliant. So we've no idea how to check whether you're watching or not. So if you could maybe give us a thumbs up or shout us a quick message just to see if this is working. It's the first time we've ever done live. Let's see how it all goes.
As you pose live questions as well, I'm on the question button as well, so I'll just say a little hello.
That's working.
Hey.
Looking good so far.
Hi Julian from the US, Gary.
Hey Gary, how you doing?
And we've got Curtis as well. Hey
Curtis,
Curtis, how you
how
doing?
are you? I think we should give a quick shout out to Eric, who signed on yesterday at this time, so he was definitely first in the queue. Hey, Eric.
Did he email us and go, where are you, where are you?
He did,
We're not here yet. It's
Where
tomorrow.
are you? So you're a day
Eric, are
early.
you there? Steve. All
Steve,
working
hi.
there as well. Hello Steve, you alright? And then we've got Peter. We're
Yeah.
on. We're good.
We're on,
here.
it's working.
Yeah. So we're here in our home in Warwickshire. So hello to USA, people in the UK. Yeah. And we're at home because we've got to be.
We've got to be. This coronavirus is an absolute nightmare, isn't it, for us all? You know, this is just my way of giving back a little bit and trying to help you guys, maybe relieve a little bit of the boredom, or maybe to inspire you to get out there as soon as we're able to. So
our golf course has been closed.
yeah, we've been closed nearly a week now.
Yeah.
Another 2 weeks to go. I suppose we should give a little shout out to Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, who's also been told that he's got coronavirus. So hope he gets better soon.
So we're hoping you all stay safe and stay well wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
Hi Jessie as well.
Hey Jessie.
So yeah, the purpose of this Q&A really is to just offer a little bit of you know, to fill the void really where your golf's gone.
Yeah.
And so we've basically been receiving lots of questions over the week or so, haven't we, from all around the world. So we just picked a few out today, and we're hoping that we can do this weekly at this time, and you know, fill as many questions as we can really. Can't
Yeah.
we're just doing our little bit really, aren't we?
Trying to. Let's see if we can relieve the boredom.
So let's just get straight into the Q&A. So
Okay.
like I said, we've picked a few out, haven't we? The first one that we've got is from Pavel Slutsky, and it's an important question. Here's his question. It says, why do you forward press?
Oh my
So
God, sometimes I get
I
messed
might
up
need to
on
get
it.
out of the way.
You might need to, but you're okay there for a second. Hi Pavel, thanks for your question. Why do I forward press? I have so many people comment on this. Why I've not done a video on, I don't know, but let's cover that one to start off with. It's very, very simple. The reason I do it is it's totally natural for me. But the reason you see quite a few golfers do this is it actually is a kickstart to the golf swing. I would say it's almost impossible to start the golf swing from a static position and move correctly. So you see, as I was setting up now, there'd be a gentle forward press, and that's just my way of starting the golf swing. Another person you might recognise, Gary Player, he did a little knee thing going on there, so his knee kicked in, and that was his way of starting the golf swing. So I would say find one that works naturally for you, but I would say starting from a static position is very, very difficult. So I would probably advise people not to do that. Maybe just a little bit of freedom and then get going. So my forward press is totally natural. I've done it since I was 8 years old, since I first picked up a club. Can't stop it, never tried to stop it because I don't really see the reason for it. But I think anything that you could do, I think there's some people who do a little bit of footwork, a little waggle, forward press, knee movement, I think any of those is a worthwhile thing to get you started.
It just basically gets prepared for the golf swing.
Yeah, it creates the inertia to get going. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Okay.
that's the reason why we do that one.
Hope you've answered the question there, Pavel. Next one is from Pop Haynes, from round the corner, literally, I think here in Warwickshire. And we get asked this question quite a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
How do I start the golf swing?
Ah, great question.
Fundamental question.
Welcome if you're watching. Pop lives just round the corner from here. She comes to me quite often for coaching. So a great question there. In fact, we actually covered this just before we got stopped going out coaching. So Pop asked me this question: how do you start the golf swing? Well, I want to go a little bit deeper than that. When I used to play a lot of golf, I had a real issue one day of not being able to take the club back. That over-analysis, the paralysis of analysis, as they say. And I remember playing in a tournament. I played 3 holes, and on the 3rd hole I had to walk off the golf course. I could not start the golf swing. I was petrified of getting it wrong, and I just froze. You may have seen Sergio Garcia with a similar issue. He had it where he kept re-gripping the golf club, couldn't actually get it started. So this left a little bit of a mental scar with me. So when I first started to go and learn all about the easy swing, one of the first questions I asked Brian is, Brian, how do you start the golf swing? Because I never want to go down that line again. And his answer to me was absolutely brilliant. He says, Julian, my motor's already running. And I went, Brian, what on earth does that mean? He says, let me show you. So if we've got an imaginary golf ball here, shouldn't hit anything, I've just checked it. So this is how he showed me. So he made his normal setup, and then off he went. So he was already in motion. What he didn't do was come to that stop now, and then you start to try and take the club back. And that's when I really got to me, and my swing started to freeze. So as we set up, nice and relaxed, and then off we go, without too much time over the golf ball. So when you're stood over that golf ball, too much time to think, then the golf swing becomes really difficult. So I would say it becomes far more natural to get going rather than standing over that ball for too long. So the answer is just let's keep it in motion to start off with.
I'm just thinking about the lovely golfer that came to Tenerife in January, and you made everybody watch his motion before he hit the golf ball.
Yeah.
Literally in motion before he hit the ball.
Absolutely, yeah. He almost never came to a standstill there. And then it was off and running, and it made for a much freer flowing golf swing. So my advice is don't stand over the ball too long.
We've got some few shout outs, some comments coming in. We've
Hello.
got Matthew from the USA, hi.
Hey, from the
we've got
USA.
John Baptiste Ferron, remember from
Yay!
France. Hey, how you
Sean,
doing?
how you doing?
How you
From
doing?
France.
Our friends, yeah.
How are you?
And then we've got Roy Hawkins.
Hey, Roy.
He's in Warwickshire. Hello.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
How you
Roy's just
doing?
up the road. He'll be coming along soon.
We've got Curtis as well.
Curtis.
We've got some great questions coming up here. If we don't get time to cover them today, John's saying great advice, thank you very much. Videos are great and helpful. Good day from Ontario in Canada as well.
Nice.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm ready for a trip over there soon.
Roy's asking, can we do a little bit on the release of the club? Can we
Yes,
cover that today?
yeah, we should be able to do that. Let's. If I don't cover your questions today, I will be making a note of them, and then we'll start to go through those next week. So forgive me if I don't answer your questions today, but believe me, I'll take note and we will go through them.
Roy said you were the first coach to explain it to him properly in 40 years.
Great.
Bye, Roy. Lisa Sun's out, I must say, in Warwickshire. Thank goodness for that. It's made this week just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Colin Marsh, hi. We're great, thanks.
Hey,
And
Colin.
Steve. Right, third question is from Jim Marlowe.
Jim.
And his question is, what is the motor of the golf swing?
Oh, great question. Again, one that we get asked quite a lot. The simple answer is the body is the motor, the arms are, let's say, are the steering wheel. If you think of a fairground ride where the swing's on chains, so big thing in the middle, which is the motor. So once that starts turning, the outside starts turning. So what we would prefer not to do is take the club away too much with the wrist and then try and get the body involved, because you'll be out of sync and out of coordination. So the simple answer is that the body is the motor of the golf swing, which is why we love to rehearse the dance to golf. Turning right and turning left, and as we're doing that, everything's moving together rather than wrists, club, and then trying to match the body up. So, very simple answer is the body is the motor of the end of the golf swing.
Okay, yeah. Do you know, we've got a great question here, and I know we cover this a lot in Tenerife, right? And you're going to love this one. It's from the Big E. Hi, the Big E, wherever you are in the world.
Hey.
It's put, how do you guard against too much sway?
Oh,
we do quite a lot
wow.
in Tenerife, don't we, about sway?
Yeah, well,
How do you guard against too much sway?
let me answer that one very quickly. What's the difference between turning and swaying? So swaying is a lateral movement and turning is a rotational movement. So if we turn, we can't sway. So this again is why it's super important to practice La Danse de Golf so often, because that's turning and there's also a natural weight shift from there. But if I go here, I've not actually turned, and that will cause massive issues on the downswing. So what we don't want to do is go this way. Let's just turn the body right, turn the body left. So turning is the antidote to swaying.
Yeah, I love
Thanks
that.
for that question.
Yeah, we see a lot of that, yeah, don't we? Another question from Steve. He's put, why is it when I work on my irons I can't hit my driver and vice versa? I wonder if he's just answered his own question.
I think you probably answered his own
Go on,
question.
fire away.
I will go through that one because it's a little bit more in depth than just answering that straight off the cuff. So I will go through that one next week because that's an important thing that a lot of golfers do struggle with. It's nothing worse, is it, than you've got the driver swing, which is great on the day, and you can't hit your irons. Play your irons really well, you can't hit the driver. So I will cover that one a lot more in next week's session.
The Big E has revealed himself. He's Eric Bassett.
Hey Eric!
That's both of you. Is that Eric?
Top Gun pilot. Hey Eric!
You got the right day, Eric.
Hope so. He was here yesterday.
Sorry, Eric, we did have a bit of a laugh at your expense. I do apologise that you were here yesterday. But anyway, nonetheless, that's an early bird, isn't it? We've been noticing as well, just a little bit of a break from the questions, that a lot of people on Twitter do some fun things in their garden on putting mats and stuff, haven't they?
Brilliant.
And Neil Walker from the Belfry has been putting up his little kid's slide.
Yeah.
They've been doing putting challenges. Something for some toilet roll or something?
I think that I've seen quite a few people chipping toilet rolls. I don't quite know the background behind that one. It's probably because we can't get hold of them at the moment, although I believe they are back in the
They are. They're back. They were
supermarkets
basically. I'm not going to tell you where they were in the UK, but for those of you outside the UK, there has been a bit of shortage on toilet roll. But I did go to the supermarket today, and they were there. But I'm not telling you where they were, just in case you get.
Yeah, I think they've been balancing them and chipping them and all sorts of things. So,
when I came back from the supermarket, Georgia, our daughter said, "Mum, with all that loo roll, did you buy any?" I didn't buy any. I don't know why. I probably should have done. Anyway, back to the questions then.
Okay.
So we've talked about how to start well, Gary Horn has asked us, how do we start the downswing? So we started about how do we start the golf swing. So how do we start the downswing, please?
Well, that's a great question, Gary, and one that's that we answer all the time. Let's see if we can simplify this a little bit more. If I set this in motion, so if this was a pendulum, would you say that's swinging as one, or is there an independent movement before the bottom bit swings? Hopefully that looks like one swinging motion. So when you can go on YouTube and there's a myriad of people out there, pros out there who are saying this is how you start the downswing. And believe me, I used to do all these things. But before I go through them, let me demonstrate the start of my downswing through to impact. And I want you to tell me, is it 1 or is it 1, 2? So if we're thinking of a movement, would you say that this is 1 or 1, 2? So I'm going to swing to the top of my backswing, and then I'm going to go all the way through to my finish. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to stop here. So now tell me, is this 1 or 1, 2? Let me do that again. So I'll turn to the top and stop. How did I start my downswing? Hopefully you said that it's 1. Now my issue when we start dissecting the downswing and trying to move one bit at a time, so if I start from the top now, I've turned to the top. So the first thing people might say is I'm going to bump my hip forward. Then I'm going to hold the leg. Then I'm going to keep my head at the back of the ball and extend. Then I'm going to finish nice and high. So is that 1 or is that 3 or 4? So if we suddenly start to thinking, what do I start first? You're never going to have a flowing golf swing. Your swing is not going to be souplesse. It's not going to be fluid. So I would say that it's everything from the top of the backswing through to the finish, one flowing motion. Don't keep your head down, and that's one of our deadly downs. Don't keep your head down because it comes 1, 2 again. So the more fluid from the top of the backswing through to the finish you can make it, the better it's going to be. Hope that's maybe stirred up some questions there. Got you thinking a little bit.
We've got loads of questions coming in, so we will do our best to try and cover them.
Brilliant.
We're just saying a shout out to Lynn Clough.
Hey Lynn.
And
yeah, he was here
yes,
a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, I know. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey.
There we are, and then we've got Columbus as well. And then we've got Handy B. Handy B. How you doing? We've got some questions about how to stay calm on the golf course, which we'll come to a bit later on. That's from Jean in France. So,
yes.
But let's crack on with the questions that we've got on here. This one's from Roger, who lives in Tenerife, actually,
yes.
doesn't he? So he came and joined you for the last time you were there.
Yeah.
And he's basically asking, should you try to compress the ball and take the turf after it?
Okay, wow, what a great question again. And something that a lot of people are talking about on YouTube, that we need to have this thing called shaft lean through impact, which is really de-lofting your golf club. So it's creating an awful lot more force. Do we need to hit down on the golf ball? Well, I want you to, after this is finished, I want you to go and have a look on YouTube for an interview with David Faherty and Darren Clark. And they're talking about Tiger Woods, or Darren Clark is talking about Tiger Woods. He was on the practice ground next to him, and Tiger likes to go to the end of the practice ground apparently. And Darren Clark was watching him hit every golf club in his bag, sandwich right through to fairway woods. I don't think it was a driver involved. And he said he took out a patch of grass that was like this square, and he never took one divot, and it was like somebody taking a pair of scissors and just trimmed the grass, and he said, and he flushed every single shot right out in the middle of the golf club. So my advice to you guys out there is don't try and hit down on the golf ball, because there's a lot of energy going into the ground and not through the golf ball. So I would say, Roger, in answer to your question, hit through, not down. The more you hit down, the deeper your divot's going, the angle of attack's going to be wrong, you're going to start to spin the ball incorrectly. So my advice is avoid it and start to hit through the shot much, much cleaner.
We've just got a second question from Roger as well.
Okay.
Is squatting on the downswing important? But before we do that, we've got to say hello to Germany. Hi,
Germany,
how are you?
hey.
Fred Lewis, how are you as well? Nice for you to join us. We've got some beginner golfers as well. France again, Germany.
Brilliant. I've got two good friends in Germany. Rudy, I must give you a mention. He was world Latin American dance champion. What he doesn't know about the movement of the body isn't worth knowing. He came for some coaching and he said, oh, it's just so simple, it's just a simple dance. So
that's why he came.
to Rudy, that's
He saw
exactly why he
the
came.
links to
And to my good friend Frank out there, who's a wonderful guy. We've done quite a lot of online coaching together, so shout out to Frank.
Yeah. So back to Roger then. He's saying, is squatting on the downswing important?
Oh yeah, I used to do this. I think that's where I got. At one point, I thought I needed a new left knee, and my left hip was absolutely killing me. So a movement that I used to do, if I do it this way, it might look a bit easier. Once I turned to the top of my backswing, my first movement used to be to keep my right leg still and move my left leg to get this squatting position from here. I can't tell you how much pain that used to cause me. And that was to what we called to try and get some compression, use the ground. And then from there it was about coming straight back up again. Oh my God, the amount of bad shots I used to hit. So I used to hit it fat because I went low and I didn't come up. Or then I'd hit up on the shot and top it. And my bad shot then was to hold the face wide open and hit that block shot that went way right. Horrible golf shot. So definitely don't try squatting on the way down, because you're going to have another movement that goes with that, and if you get that sequence wrong, you're going to hit it really, really poorly. So very simple, turn and weight shift is the answer to that one, Roger. Turn right, turn left, no need to go up and down. Two things that I like to see maintained in the golf swing is the chin level and the knee level. So if we're just simply turning this way and turning this way, there's no need to go up and down. Hopefully that's answered that question, Roger.
I think it's a nice lead-in to a question that we've had actually, posed by, I don't think he gives his exact name, but this is what he said. Your method produces a lot of moving parts, and it seems that it's difficult to coordinate all these moving parts to square up and path. What's your thoughts on that?
I would have probably agreed with you at one point when I used to be very static, lower body static, trying to coil these positions from here, trying to get into good positions to impact. I thought that was creating a lot of power and force to the golf ball, but is this, oops, let me hold that there, is this a lot of movement? Not necessarily, it's just a turn right and a turn left. Match that up with the club backwards and forwards. In fact, I read a really good piece yesterday from a guy called Brando Chambly, who's a Sky Sports commentator, and he was saying that thankfully the modern swing now is going away from all this resistance to make it look perfect. And I think golfers are all guilty of trying to have that beautiful, perfect looking golf swing, when actually it's probably not that efficient and that effective. So when I changed from the way I used to do it, keep everything stiff, tight, cocking, coiling, resisting, holding, all of this position, my golf swing was just bits stuck together. There was no flow to the golf swing. So yes, I would say your body is moving far freer when you swing this way, but I would say it's going to be more natural to you. So just think of, if it was simply throwing a ball this way, there's always a natural movement to it. I think keeping things too static, you're never going to have a flow, and you definitely lose distance doing that way. When I changed over, a big question I get asked all the time, did I lose distance, or am I going to lose distance if I go on this methodology? I gained distance. I gained at least a club, if not a club and a half's length, and I had no pain, and my golf shots were far more accurate.
I mean, I do remember, I've said this a number of times about when you used to complain about bad back and bad knees, and I honestly still say he used to complain really bitterly about his knee, and you couldn't sit still at dinner in a restaurant, could you, because your back pain, your knee pain, and since you started learning the easiest swing.
Well, I would say within 2 weeks, my pain went, and I've never had it back again. Thank God for that.
Amazing,
but I now understand why that is, of course, through this thing called the Kinetic Chain, which is how your body's designed to move.
I don't think you can really say how important it is to practice the dance to golf, can you? To make sure that you keep that coordination going.
All the time.
I know lots of you tell us anyway that you've been doing it while you wait to get ready to go out. Your wife thinks you're crazy, or your husband thinks you're crazy because you're practicing the dance to golf. But that's really the way to lock it in, is just to keep practicing that move, isn't it? And then it becomes a one movement, a more fluid.
Let me just very quickly explain why our movement, let's say the easiest swing movement, is far, far healthier and correct as opposed to the modern way of doing it, which is too much resistance. It comes down to a thing called the kinetic chain. I've done a video on this, but let me go through it very quickly. So your ankles are nice and mobile, they're good at moving. Your knee is a hinge joint, just backwards and forwards. Hips are nice and mobile. I think Rudy would agree with that one. Lower lumbar spine, support through the pelvis is fairly stable joint. Then we've got your thoracic spine, which is your shoulders, they're good at moving and putting things in cupboards. And then we've got your neck, which is holding your head on a relatively stable joint. So what we have is mobility in the ankle, stability in the knee, mobility in the hips, stability in your lower back, mobility in your shoulders and stability in your neck. Now, if I keep my front foot still, watch what happens to my left knee. You see how it's now going in. So I've got a static ankle, a mobile knee, my hips lock, so they become static. My lower back now becomes mobile when it shouldn't be. And then we're told to keep your arm out straight, keep your head down. I can't put my body under any more strain if I try. And then we've got to keep all that down through impact, and that's going to have a huge effect on your body. So all we're saying is, if you allow your ankles to move freely in the backswing, the whole kinetic chain works absolutely correctly. So as my ankle's moving, my knee is now just hinging naturally. I've got mobility in my hips, it's supporting my back. Transfer that the other way and you're not going to have any pain. So it's really important to learn to move correctly, and the reasons why, of course.
So important, isn't it, when you learn that kinetic chain?
Oh,
It's just crazy stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Roy Hawkins has said, will this be on YouTube so we can revisit it?
Yes,
yeah, that's our
hopefully.
plan. Yeah, that's our plan. We've got some more shout outs from Charlotte to Rick in Charlotte.
Hey.
We're going to cover lots of these questions off, I think, next time. We've got Don, say hello. He's talking about bunkers and stuff. And fairway shots and
yes,
things.
that's difficult to simulate indoors, but hopefully we can get back out there. But I will be able to talk through bunker play, that's for sure.
Yeah. We're moving really on to the mental approach as well, aren't we? On the golf. We'll do that before we finish, because we've got a question from Jean about that.
Yeah.
But just another question from David Waters is about the grip.
Oh,
so,
the
yeah.
grip.
You don't very often talk about that, do you? But you did a video on it once, so.
Let's figure out the grip. You go to your professional or a professional. One of the first things he's going to do is change your golf grip. Now, we use the phrase is grip natural, not neutral. So, if just as an example, a lady that Brian Sparks and myself knows grips the club what you would deem is strong. So, a very strong left-hand grip and the right hand would tuck under. So the hands are looking this way rather than here. I think a hockey player, but I've never seen anybody hit the ball straighter. So why change the grip just to be conventional? But let's think a little bit deeper about the grip. Just need a drink, 1 second.
That is only water.
It is only water, yeah. You don't need.
Don't want to be swinging a club with it, not in here anyway, not in the house.
Right, so let's say I've got a really rounded back, so my back's really round, I've got issues with my back. If my arms hang naturally from here, can you see how they're pointing inwards? Now if I suddenly try to get that person to try and have this neutral grip, so where they say you've got to see 2 knuckles here, and you've got to put it in the fingers or from this way, how do I look now if my posture is really rounded? Now, then you say, now your arms are spread, now you've got to try and keep your arms straight, but you can't because your back's really bent. So now to go into this conventional grip is going to be totally unnatural. So if you've got more rounded shoulders, your grip's probably going to look a little bit more this way because your hands naturally hang there. Now if you go to the other extreme where you've got an incredibly straight back, can you see now how my hands are pointing out more? So if I just simply bring them together, that's going to be my natural golf grip. So I would say very, very simple. Get into your posture, let your arms hang, and just simply bring your hands together into that natural grip. I don't really mind if you what's called overlap, interlock, or have a 10-fingered grip. My preference is to what's called an overlap grip, but you know, if you've got issues or if you've got fingers missing, then you know, put the hands on the best way that's good for you, but really stick with this nice natural grip if you needed to change. But it's very, very rare that we change golf grips because people generally are very comfortable with that, and then they can make changes in the swing.
I think you tried to change mine once.
Really? I did when we first did this.
Yeah, some time ago. I was like, no, my hand doesn't go around there.
The way I used to do it,
Which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, exactly.
What you just said.
Yeah.
My hands went that way. Some of the questions on here. Oh, we've got loads to come back to, I think. Can we discuss shoulder tilt? Maybe we might do that. How do we keep our head moving from Matthew Bird? So how do we keep our head moving
Matthew,
through the full shot? Shouts out to Texas.
Hey Texas!
All over the world. Florida as well. Friends in
Football.
Florida as well.
Yeah,
Big shout out. But the question is, the final question really is from Otto and Lynn in the USA. Hiya!
Hey Otto and Lynn, how are you
And
doing?
they're asking, why do we come over the top?
Over the top, oh my god, what a question that is. I've had that asked quite a few times on some of the things here. There's quite a few reasons for coming over the top, but for those people who don't know what over the top is there's what's called a plane of the golf swing. So let's say it's roughly at 45 degrees. On the way down, the shaft of the club comes above that plane. So this is over the top of the plane, which will cause you to hit what's deemed as from out to in. Now, I've asked, again, I asked Brian this question when I first started to do it, because it's one of the most common things that we see in the golf swing. And we started to pin it down to a few different things, so you can't say there's only one. So first off, it's very commonly caused through what we call our 3 deadly don'ts. So which is don't is keeping your head down, keeping your arms straight, and keeping your front foot pinned to the floor. So let's see what I mean by that one. So if I keep my head down, it's very difficult to turn. So if we can't turn, what we'll naturally do is lift. So when we say we're coming over the top, quite commonly you're already over the top, and then you come more over the top on the way down. So you're never actually getting on plane because you've got a resistance of the head staying down. So there's number one. The second thing that people try and do is keep the arms straight. But in order to keep the arms straight, they tend to take the club out. That now is above the plane, so we're already over the top of the plane again. And the third one is keeping this foot still in the backswing. So I'm going to keep that still. So if this stays still, remember what happens to the knee, the hips lock, and I now can't turn. So this now becomes a tilt instead of a turn. Now if I tilt, the club is already above the plane, and then it can easily come more over the top of it. Tension. Let's think about tension in your shoulders. So hopefully the people who are watching this now understand that we like to avoid tension at all costs. But what we've got to figure out is where is it and where does it hide? One of the most common places that we see tension is hiding in the shoulders. So my shoulders are up tight here, and I'm locked up. How easy is it to turn? I can't. So now I become upright again. I'm above the plane, and now I'm coming over the top again. So we build these things in, and we can't actually turn to get the club on plane. So let's keep ourselves nice and neutral, lovely and relaxed. Allow your ankles to move freely, and you can see the club naturally goes on a much better path. Now, there is another reason why we tend to come over the top. So let's say you're very, very happy with your backswing, and then you see this moving in the downswing. When I've played golf quite a lot with Brian, and I definitely do this myself sometimes, but when I've seen Brian come over the top, his biggest thing there is actually trying to hit the ball harder, trying to gain a little bit more distance. And then from here he starts to cover the ball. So he's already almost over the top of the ball here to try and get that extra power. So the worst place that we can try to hit the ball further is at the start of the downswing. So if I try and force it straight over the top, then we get that horrible pull. And his bad shot was just a really horrible pull left, which I think we're all guilty of that one. So again, my advice is from the top, start it smooth, and let's put the speed in where it counts, not at the start of the downswing. So there's a few reasons. One of the other reasons that you could see quite clearly from here is people who slice the ball, they're naturally coming over the top. They very commonly aim left. Hopefully you can see that from here. So they aim left, the shoulders are left, and now you're always over the top to start off with. So alignment would cause it as well. If we had a default that enables people to get on path better, we would prefer people to be slightly closed, because that gives you a little bit more turn, which makes the club easier to turn around the body, rather than open where you lift the club in the backswing and you're already over the top of it. So yeah, try and avoid those few things.
I think the important thing to realise, as well, is understand and be aware of yourself, is what's causing the tension in the first place. You know, things like putting yourself under too much pressure, rushing before you get to the course.
Yeah.
You know, your brain and your body are ultimately linked, you all know that anyway. But if you go in with that tension already, you know, putting pressure on yourself already, you are going to naturally sort of tighten up on it. So
We've got to think about where tension comes from. So there's a physical tension, but there's also that mental pressure that we start to put ourselves on. And let's think about your next round of golf. What hole are you going to put yourself under the most pressure on? Let's say it's a competition, there's maybe a starter there. Is the first tee. That's the place where often people start to become too tense because they don't want to hit a bad first tee shot. It's almost like, oh, thank God I've got that one over with, now I can get going, and then they start to relax. But so, Joe, because of the things that we've done, what would you say is an antidote to tension? What do we need to?
I think, I mean, that leads nicely into Jean's question about how do you stay calm on the course, and we often talk about breathing. Breathing is really underestimated as a way to keep yourself calm. It's, you know, it's, like I say, really underestimated. It's such an easy thing to do. And we often talk about box breathing. So the box is, you know, the mindset of having to think about the box. So you count in 4. So you breathe in for 4, and you hold for 4, and then you breathe out for 4. And then you hold, and then you breathe in for 4, you hold, and you breathe out for 4. It's a very well-known type of breathing, box breathing. So you could do 4, or if you're more advanced, you can go to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10, 11, 12. Like some of my yoga teachers do, that pushes it a bit farther.
As soon as I took the in-breath, and you know, if you're under pressure and you've got that shot to play, if the first thing you do is just before you take the club back is breathe in, now I've already built up that tension. So a much better, if we were to think about breathing on the first day, a much better way to be is to be breathing out. And then you can get going. But this deep, sharp intake of breath on that backswing definitely.
But the breathing makes sure that you're in control of your nervous system, not the other way around. So, and I know you said before about when you were playing the tournament and you actually started the night before. So, you know, I mean, basically a lot of people suffer with their breathing because they're so used to sitting in chairs, so we're not using our lungs correctly.
Right.
So, you know, we need to practice really opening our lungs and breathing correctly. So, yeah, and you can do that. I mean, now is the perfect time that we're all at home. You know, Google some breathing exercises, lie flat on the floor. You can hold a ball on your tummy just to, you know, check how much you're breathing. But most people are breathing up here anyway, which can cause your tension and everything goes up.
And an absolute master of breathing is Tiger Woods. He used to really practice it a lot. I believe, and I'm happy for you guys to comment on this one, I believe that Tiger Woods could actually hold his breath for 7 minutes. Whether that's true or not, it's just a story I've heard, but he was really in control of his breathing. And he was renowned, if he was leading a tournament last off, he was renowned for going slower, actually walking slower.
I'm absolutely going to say that. Absolutely, totally going to say that. You know, work on your breathing as well, but absolutely walk slower. You know, the quicker you run, the more adrenaline you produce, the more cortisol, the stress hormone, and that's going to carry with you onto your next shot. So the best thing you do after a bad shot is just walk slowly. Do some light deep breathing, walk slowly. And never anything is a guarantee, but the more relaxed you are, the more energy you'll have throughout the round, won't you? And it'll be more enjoyable. So I hope that answers John's question about how you stay calm.
So there's a mental tension, but then if we think about the physical tension, what I like to get people to do.
No problem, John. You said thank you very much.
Hey, welcome. So what I like to get people to do is set up and go to maximum tension, and then just count backwards, 10, 9, and as you're counting back, you'll come to a number where you suddenly feel really relaxed. For me, I'm down to 2, but I would say commonly people around 6, 5, 4, something like that. So tight, relax, and then get going, rather than building up the tension and then trying to get going. There's never going to be a flow to it. And again, Brian came up with a great thing. If you wanted to make some beautiful music, you're in front of an orchestra. If you're holding the baton, you're holding it really tight. How would this music sound? Or do we want it to flow? So there has to be, if you want nice golf swings, make nice golf swings, you have to be without tension. Build that up, then you've got a robotic swing that just wasn't working. And it's actually very slow and you will lose distance, no question. So,
would you say that how you show up on the golf course is how you show up in life, or the other way around? Or not?
Not necessarily. I've met characters from all around the world now. I've met some very, very influential people who in their work are quite stressed on the golf course, are quite relaxed. And I've seen it totally the opposite way. Really chill people get on the course, they're trying so hard to do well, and they get massively tight. But again, the saying that we use all the time, awareness cures, trying fails. I'm going to say that again, awareness cures, trying fails. If you can be aware of tension, first off, then you can do something about it. If you try to relax, it's much more difficult than being aware and then doing something about it.
I've got another shout out. The Big E says, any chance any chance of us getting to the States to run a few schools?
Oh, that would be
not
nice.
Not at the moment.
At the moment, we're not allowed. I'd love to come
that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Some schools,
and then just breathe and relax, and awareness is the key from Thomas Fraser. You're absolutely right. Key to finding your greatest, bestest swing. We're going to be closing shortly, but we had a really, really thoughtful email from David McClure in the UK, didn't we?
Brilliant.
And he wrote this brilliant email, so I'm just going to read it out to you. So he's just finished reading a book called Gone Fishing by Mortimer and Whitehouse, and because he really enjoyed watching the series on the BBC, because it's something you can watch over and over again. And the weird thing is, he said he doesn't fish at all, but the series is not really about fishing, it's about friendship. And he said he really thinks there's golf parallels in there. Because he said we all want to play better golf and improve on the course, but what really matters is companionship and enjoyment from playing with your friends.
Isn't that right? Especially now we're not allowed to go out.
No.
Yeah, I miss it even more.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we might appreciate it more, but he said on a golf course you might also get a glimpse of the beautiful scenery and nature surrounding you. When you're fishing, if you fail to catch a fish, it's not the end of the world, is it? And wait for it, he said, if you don't catch a fish, it's still a nice day.
Oh, man.
I mean, my dad fished for years and he just sits by the lake and doesn't catch anything, but he absolutely loves it.
I suppose we've got to come on to It's a Nice Day then. We can't leave that one hanging. So, a demonstration that we often do, the easy swing coaches often do, is we'll hit 3 balls. We'll hit the first one nicely to start with, fingers crossed. The second one, we'll miss-hit it, and the third one, we'll hit it nicely again. But so often, so we hit the nice shot, great, we feel good. We hit the bad shot, and it's how people react to it. They'll throw their club, they'll get upset, they'll get uptight. What's that actually doing to their tension? What's that doing to their mental state? So the more frustrated you get, you're probably going to take that on to the next shot. So a saying that we use is, it's still a nice day. If you've mishit a shot, so what? It's just a golf shot. It's not the end of the world. Make it, again, a saying that I heard from a guy called Pete Cowan, who's actually, again, is an unbelievable golf coach, one of the world's best golf coaches. When I used to go for lessons with Pete, and I used to get very angry on a golf course. I once, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but I once walked off a golf course with 28 golf clubs. I snapped every single club in my bag, including the putter on the last hole, and my putter out to finish was this long. Terrible attitude. Nobody really liked playing with me. But he said to me, Julian, don't get mad, get curious. And I thought, that is absolute genius.
Which,
so why is that happening, rather than just getting mad and throwing your clubs and then not learning from it? Every shot's an opportunity to learn.
I just reminded me, we're going to give a shout out to some of the golf courses around the world that we've been in touch with as well recently, like Buena Vista in Tenerife, amazing, one of the best 35 golf courses. If you ever get a chance to play, go. We've got Quinta de Marina, our friends in Portugal. He's a big fan of the easiest swing, isn't he? And he said, when we return to golf, we should all play more relaxed and have more fun. And then it just reminded me, thinking about Tenerife, about the bananas. because we both played golf. It's a beautiful sunny day.
But
you liked to experiment on the golf course, didn't you? And you experiment with some great shots, some amazing shots, and shots that you probably shouldn't really been playing, really, but you were just experimenting, enjoying yourself, and that's what we were there to do. Enjoy yourself and have some fun with
I
golf.
think the banana shot. I was attempting a shot on the par
Most
three.
difficult shots.
The 8th hole at Buena Vista. Went totally wrong and the golf ball flew into the bananas. And that's all I could do. I can only laugh about it.
You wouldn't have laughed about it before, would you? You'd beat yourself up for days or something, but we had absolutely great fun, and it gives us great pleasure to then be able to share those stories and have good fun on the golf course. If you'd have gone around breaking your clubs, that wouldn't have been fun, would it?
And if you're thinking about attitude, I've got a question for you. If you think back to your last round of golf, if that's the very last round of golf that you're ever going to be able to play, let's hope that's not the case, but let's say it was, would you be happy with your attitude? And if you're not, what could you do different? And we all know, I think we've all played with that person who's a club thrower or angry or a rules official and just isn't very happy on the golf course. But if you could be really aware of that and enjoy your next round of golf, it's not life and death. We're not actually playing to win the Open, probably, unless one of the top pros is watching this, which I very much doubt, but hey, you never know. It's a game to be enjoyed. Go and enjoy it. Don't beat yourself up, because the more you do, the worse.
In fact, we're going to tell off the Big E, because he's popped up again on here. He said the sun stops shining when I don't play well. We'll tell him off. The sun shines,
The sun shines every day, somewhere.
We've got a shout out to North Carolina as well.
Hey,
How you
North
doing over
Carolina, who's
there?
that?
Somebody saying great session, looking forward to a future session. And Sweden, we've got Sweden in the house as well from Nils.
Nice. I'd love to go to Sweden.
Somebody's saying, can we have a coach in Liverpool somewhere?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, thank you everybody for engaging with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Our plan is to do another one next Friday, isn't it? At the same time.
Yeah.
It'll be a different time over here in the UK because the clocks will go back. So it'll be a lot more lighter, hopefully a bit brighter. Acknowledging that it's a tricky time out there, isn't it, these days? And it's with, we just want to send our love and best wishes. We've hoped that we've had along the day a bit, filled a bit of a void for you today, because golf's really important, isn't it?
It's really important. Quick shout out to Hank and Karen.
Oh, Hank and Karen as well, yeah.
Hank sent me a couple of emails, which I'm going to answer in the next one. So hey,
we've got loads of questions from you on here, so we'll wrap those into the next one, I think.
Right.
Just saying hi to Steve, he's from Florida.
Steve, hi.
And Gordon, hello.
Gordon,
we've got Rome as well in Italy. Sending our big love to Italy at the moment. It's tough over there. So I think we'll bring it to a close, I think, Julian.
Yeah, keep safe, everybody. Keep well.
And if there's any ways that
right
people can
things.
practice, somebody's just asked a late question about practicing the garden.
Oh, yes. I tell you what I'll do.
Yeah,
I did do one.
maybe.
I did do one a couple of days. Well, maybe nearly a week ago on some things that you should be practicing if you're at home in the house. So I've done a putting one and a golfing one. I also want to do one on chipping. So if I get a chance this week and the weather's kind to me, I'll try and do one of those and put that on here. But what I do need from you guys is some more questions for next week. I mean, if you're engaged by this, please tell your friends, get them to sign up. Let's see if we can make golf even more enjoyable. Don't stress about it too much. For a lot of people it's really, really important, but the harder you try, probably the worse you're going to get. So go out and allow it to happen.
Yeah, but while you're indoors, send us your little pictures of the practicing you do, and give some shout out next week. Sorry about the background, it looks a bit too bright, does it? The sun's gone down now, so we've got to put the light up, so apologies for that. Hello from Washington, thank you for your comments on the great information. But yeah, just stay safe and well. Think golf, enjoy golf as much as you can. Online, on YouTube, and let's dream of sunnier times, I hope.
Yeah, look forward to your questions.
Okay, take care, all the best,
be safe, bye.
Bye.